One can actually divide the world of trust into three segments. You can call it the trust when it's formed, and the middle one, which is always been neglected, is trust administration, how you actually doing the administration of your trust once it comes into existence. And then there's that little component of tax and accounting. But I want to talk briefly about this trust administration. Typically, you find a professional like ourselves who deals in trust administration. What is supposed to mean? Most of you guys register trust not really informed about what it means to be trustee. So the trust administration professional will come in and hold your hand and tell you that you need to register with SARS. These are information that you need to have. You need to register, have what you call beneficial owners registers. You need to keep minutes. You need to reduce the decisions of the trustees into resolutions. So those are some of the things that I will be having conversation with you on. And that's very, very important because all the decisions that comes from the trustees must be minuted, right? All the decisions or the discussions of the trustees must actually any form of decision that you are approving, guys, must go into what you call resolutions. A trust needs to have a bank account. How many of you guys register trust and don't even open bank accounts? That could potentially invalidate the existence of the trust, and you find yourself actually trust being considered what you call an alter ego, and you don't want to find yourself in that situation because that comes with severe tax implications should you find yourself having those things. So those are some of the responsibilities of trust administration specialist, and to ensure that you who are a layman don't really understand the function and the roles of the trustees, you are actually being coached along the ways on what needs to be done and what cannot be done when you are forming trust, because it's important. Failure to do that, you might actually not preserve wealth as you would have already intended that you are registering trust for, specifically for that. The legacies that you want to achieve, the transfer of wealth from one generation to the next generation, might not be attained mainly because you neglected the role of trust administration. Okay, so let's ensure that we separate the roles and the responsibilities. Does not necessarily mean that when you've got an accountant or a tax specialist within your trust, doesn't mean that that particular person is responsible for trust administration. No, you need to be clear. Yes, you could find that the very same person is actually responsible for trust administration, but those relationships or those scopes needs to be defined on the agreements that you have with that particular person. Don't just assume, okay? Because you don't want to find yourself later and you say, I thought my accountant would be on top of things and do all these things. But you find that no, accountant was just there to do financials, was there to submit tax returns, but wasn't there to do the part of the trust administration. But what we're going to start seeing later on, because there have been changes around the requirements from SARS point of view, is that the very same accountant, when they're submitting tax returns for the trust, they'll be required to have certain information. And this is the information that the tax practitioners will ask you as the trustees. And then if you guys have got a trust administration person specialist, well, then obviously the accountant will speak to that particular person to seek such information. What those information I'm talking about, the trustee is going to be required, the minutes of the trustees will be required, and this is where it gets interesting, because if, let's say, the trustee stipulated and say the trustees should meet 4 times or 5 times in a year, and you guys don't even have those minutes, can you see that to a SARS could just be a red flag that maybe things are not kosher in these trusts? Maybe this is why I need to zoom in and find out if even those transactions that took place within this are actually ideal. It's getting more and more tricky when it comes to compliance, be it trust, be it companies. What I'm trying to show you is that you need to get your house in order. You need to get professionals around you, because you might not be an expert in those particular fields. Be it a company, be you as a sole trader, be it as a small business owner, be it having a trust, you still need to have a professional who's going to guide you. Okay, so also the decisions of the transactions that took place, it's going to be very, very important that those decisions, they took place within the powers that you're granted as trustees in the trust deed. So if, for instance, you took a certain decision to dispose assets or to buy specific transactions, or you took on loans, that are against the trustee, that could potentially find yourself being disregarded by certain interested parties because you would have not exercised the powers granted in the trust deed. So it's very, very important that now the accountants that are going to be doing this trust, they need to familiarize themselves with the true content of the trust to ensure that the information that they're getting is in compliant with the trust deeds and things like that, because they don't want to find themselves having audits and audits, because it might look like they don't know what they're doing, well, it's actually the role and the responsibility of trust administration specialist. So that's when you need to clarify the relationship you have with your tax practitioner. Okay, if you need any further clarification on this, you're more than welcome to reach out to me. Good luck.